Hey, everybody. Welcome to our virtual session, Forming a More Perfect Union. My name is Sandy Day, and I am with Beyond School Bells. I am their Director of Content and Delivery. And with me today is my colleague and overall partner in crime, Kent Day.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kent. With Civic Nebraska. I'm the Director of Youth Civic Leadership Programs, and we oversee CLCs in Lincoln and Omaha, Raymond Central. So a shout out to all of you. And we thought we'd get started today, but looking at how this project came about. Forming a More Perfect Union is a response to really two things. One is what we were referring to as a civic slide. According to Annenberg Public Policy Center, the Pew Research Center, and the Brookings Institute, only 1 in 4 Americans can name the 3 branches of government. Only 17% of Americans trust the federal government. And there's been a marked reduction in civic participation. So that's one of the reasons that we wrote this program. A second one is the more recent crisis in American democracy, where we see challenges on both sides of the aisle. So in response to those two things, we developed this program, and Sandy's going to give you the overview here in a minute.
Thank you, Kent. Let me go ahead and share my screen. One sec. There we go. So like Kent indicated, I'm going to give I like to call it the 65,000 foot level view of what the whole overall unit is. So note to selves, here is, and of course this will be available after we're taping. It'll be available in multiple places. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate at all to get a hold of either one of us. We'd really appreciate helping you out in whatever challenge you may have. Okay, the first thing we wanted you to know is that this is not like one lesson or one unit. It's really a set of units, and they are grade banded. As you can see here, we did that because typically after school programs have a tendency to grade band this way. But it depends, of course, on the number of students in each section. But at any rate, so these are the 4 grade bands, and in each of those 4 grade bands will be 4 themes. And I want to just take a stop here and just another shout out to Civic Nebraska and their team. Through Kent's leadership, he reached out to find, for lack of a better term, the correct wrapping to put this content in. And because we didn't arm wrestle, but we went back and forth, like, how are we going to even start this? So we decided to go with this first theme, confidence in institutions. What does your community look like? And so we decided to start like literally in kids' own backyard. What does your community look like? What makes it unique? And then from there, we're going to scooch out a little bit bigger. We're going to go then to different levels of government under community engagement, talk a little bit about what is a good neighbor, what are the different boards of government that affect a student's life, a parent's life, a teacher's life, etc. So those are the topics that will be covered in that theme. The third one is social connectedness. What does civil discourse look like in your community? What does your community look like when it tries to solve a problem or to take a stand for something? And then the last one is political action. And in each grade band, students will have the opportunity to learn about local democracy in action. Everything from, as you can see here, possibly attending a city council meeting, going to a rally, voting, and running for office. And that'll take place again through all 4 grade bands that we mentioned. Also want to point out that there are in this collection, and there are thousands of things here, people. In this collection of content, there are activities, there are games, and then there are voting at each level. Okay, I'm going to pause here and I'm going to turn it over to Kent. And what he's going to do is actually going to take us through a specific grade band itself. We chose grades 6 through 8. I mean, if we were live, I'd have had you type in the chat, which grade band would you like us to walk through, but we can't do that. So we picked and we got to pick. So here you go. Here's 6 through 8. Ken?
Thanks, Sandy. And yes, those themes that Sandy was referring to are from Civic Nebraska's Civic Health Index for Nebraska. So if you're interested in those, you can go to our website and look for the Civic Health Index. That index looks at data, census data, and other survey data, and measures literally the civic health of the state of Nebraska. So that should be interesting. Okay, here you're going to see this is the way all 4 grade bands will look, and you can see that it's a simple table. You can see the headings on the top. The two headings to the right, the type and the notes, are designed to help you make a decision about how long you can expect to spend on this particular activity and what the type is. So you can see the first one is a video. It's done by the Lincoln Journal-Star, and it's about our One House legislature. So all that information is right there. The clicks that you're going to see are live. So you'll be able to go to this site, whichever organization you go to, and you'll be able to click on that and it'll go straight to the video. Our goal, first of all, Sandy and I went through maybe not hundreds, but certainly scores and scores and scores of sites and programs. There's a lot of content out there. So one of our goals was to make sure that we picked things that would be reliable and that you could depend on would be there. So we're fairly confident that the Lincoln Journal-Star is going to have this content up tomorrow and next week and next month. And so that was one of the things that we went through that we looked at for all of our content. You can see that was the One House legislature. So that's a state legislature. The next one is a county government. The next one is what's called Court Quest. And those two, the county government and the Court Quest, are both by an organization called iCivics. If you're not familiar with iCivics, that is the organization founded by Sandra Day O'Connor, Supreme Court Justice O'Connor. It's been there for a long time. Again, it's very reliable, but it's also a big enough organization so that it has Spanish translation. It has voiceover if you've got students with disabilities. It's got a glossary and teacher materials and all of that. So you can look at the 15 to 30 minutes on the right and look at the type and what other things are available and kind of measure out your lesson plan accordingly, or your club activity. Court Quest was a lot of fun. That's an iCivics game. You see on the right, it says playing time will vary. Some of these games can be played by an individual student all by themselves, at home, wherever. They could be played in a small group, 2 students or even 3 or 4 on one screen, or they could be played on a large screen directed by a provider or a teacher. And again, iCivics is going to be there. So you can count on that. Next, branches of government. I know you can read all of these. This next one is a couple of things we wanted students to be able to participate in their community. And so some of these we picked are what are called citizen science projects. If you're not familiar with citizen science, it's projects, programs that are from universities, other organizations, nonprofits all around the world. And students can contribute data to these projects and be a part of something much, much bigger than themselves or even their CLC. So you can see this one is Darwin's Dogs. Students who like dogs, and you know they do, they can put in information about their own dogs, and they can be a part of that much, much bigger international project on dogs. The next one is soil collection. Kids can get a soil collection kit from Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma, and send in samples. Community engagement, as Sandy indicated, solving problems, caring for the community. Some of these, the first couple are citizen science activities. Then there's the game from iCivics called Sortify. Civic Heroism is a web quest. For a web quest from iCivics, you have to log in. It's safe. They don't ask you for any sensitive information. They don't ask for any money or anything like that. I think they're just keeping track of their data. The last one in this one is one of my favorites. It's from an organization called Lead India, and it's called The Tree. It's a good example of a real small piece of content that can be much, much larger. In this video, which is only 2.5 minutes long, you'll see a large tree has fallen across the street, blocking traffic in both directions, and it's raining. How do they get the tree moved? Children get out of their cars, adults get out of their cars, first responders are there, and they work to move this tree. And in about 2.5 minutes, you can see the impact that people can have when they collaborate and cooperate. Excellent video. You got to watch that one. It's great. Political involvement. Again, several from, in this case, PBS, Learning Media. If you don't use PBS, I strongly encourage you to take a look at it. PBS is another one of those like iCivics. It's going to be there tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. So you can make lessons and activities with some confidence. And a lot of the things about PBS Learning Media, you can see, White House, Seneca Falls, voting, winning the White House, et cetera. But the thing about Learning Media is when you open the site, over on the right, you're going to see maybe a half dozen additional videos or activities that relate to the same topic. So if you're looking at Seneca Falls, you're looking at women's rights. Over on the right-hand side of that screen, you're going to see more on women's rights, but you might also see things on civil rights and other things as well. PBS Learning Media is translated, usually, has teacher activities, all kinds of additional content, so that you can stretch that 5 minutes and 2 seconds of a video into an entire 40-minute lesson. Going further down, I really like this one, Sojourner Truth, for a couple of reasons. It's you're familiar with the Ain't I a Woman speech that Sojourner Truth delivered at Seneca Falls in that women's conference. They explain the context of that, and then a young woman does her version of that speech. But the thing about it is it goes directly into conversations about civil rights and about women's rights. So again, a very short video, 3 minutes and 43 seconds, becomes a much larger conversation. And for that, it's really good. And this one's good too. Contact your elected officials. We hear a lot about writing letters and contact and emails to our elected officials, but how do you go about doing that? That click will take you to a document where that gives you advice on how to write that letter or email. The advice comes from not only from my fearless leader, Adam Morfeld, state senator in Nebraska, but also from, it escapes me. Anyway, it's reliable information, trust me. So to give you tips on how you can write that letter. So students can go to that, or you could do that on a large screen and contact your public officials. Social connectedness. Here you see, we've tried to get a real diverse content on this one. So you'll see Trouble at the Mill is immigration and labor oriented. The next one is Native American issues. Next ones are social media. Some of these social media ones that you see, Face the Facts and News Defenders, are narrated by student reporters, which is appealing, especially to middle and high school. And then you see some more iCivics and citizen science. Last thing on this particular section is we knew that we did some hands-on things. So we found board games, card games, puzzles, coloring pages, all kinds of things that are fairly low cost that you could put on a table and have kids, physically handle. So you'll see a matching game here. This is a Jenga style game on state capitals, Constitution, all those kinds of things. And then you see down here, coloring pages, 50 American designs, Ultimate Black Women coloring book. So all of those are available. We put the link so you can go to them I realize we're all dealing with budgets here, but if you can afford a few of those games, you might want to take a look at that. That's all I've got about grades 6 through 8. By the way, all the other grade bands look exactly the same. And please feel free, just because you're 6 through 8 doesn't mean you can't look at the content from 3-5 or from 9-12. All this will be available to you on our websites. Andy?
Thanks, Kent. I hope that you've gotten the sense, especially if you've followed some of the content that we have at Beyond School Bells. Kent and I had lots of discussions on whether or not we should have this be like, here is the lesson plan. But the more we research, the more we realized having the teacher/teacher team have the opportunity to make choices, because there is so much out there, seemed to be a better way to go about this. So just wanted to throw that in there. I'm pretty sure we mentioned early on that each grade band will have a section for voting, my personal favorite. We've again got 6-8 up here. Starting in 6th grade, we will have students register to vote, and we've built in a Google form where you could use that. You could decide to scrap that and just go paper, that's fine. But of course, students are gonna wanna revisit their registration every year that they may do this, because they may have changed their address. They may have changed schools. So you wanna start the voting piece as legit as possible. And in this particular section on voting, we've got sample ballots that look exactly like a ballot. You can also create your own from another template that we have hyperlinked in here. But the key steps in voting at the secondary level, again, are registration, campaigning. Everything is the same at the elementary grade levels, except for number 1. They're going to campaign for something. As I'm thinking about the K2 band, one of the things was the issue is, what's our favorite snack to have after school? So I can see the wheels turning already through the Zoom here, campaigning and what that would look like. Should they be Rice Krispie treats or should they not? And then of course, casting the ballots, tabulation, implementation, and then reflection. So again, you'll see a lot of pieces hyperlinked within the voting section. Like I said, here's the form we have for registering. Here's that ballot that you can use, and also another one can be customized. A little bit of sort of background about the actual components of voting and implementation and reflection. And then, I don't know what your money situation looks like, but if you can invest in this ballot box booth set, signs and stickers, it's remarkable. And I can't believe it's only $198. But anyway, and of course, most of that stuff is reusable, except for the stickers. Okay, so I think that's it. I wanted to talk about voting. And as I stop sharing my screen here, I want to point out that there's a couple of things, and then we'll each take you to our websites where you can find out where our content is, or how to get there, basically. But when you're thinking about this unit and bringing it to a close at any grade band, some suggestions you might want to think about. I know this is happening in large scale in some of our rural communities, where high school students or middle school students are helping to implement after school clubs for elementaries, or like I said, high school to middle. And you might want to consider that, especially if this takes off in your school and you end up with grade banded kids who've gone through this stuff all the way through the high school side. In the meantime, I would just hook up with your high school folks, because there are a bunch of social studies nerds in high school. Trust me, I was one, who would, I'm sure, love to come and help with the voting unit or anything else related to your unit. The other thing is, I can't state strongly enough how important this would be to have implemented and highlighted at one of your family nights, for students to stand up and tell their teachers, parents, other stakeholders what they learned about democracy in their 6-week unit, or however long you choose to run it. And then lastly, and I really like this idea, you might consider implementing a certificate system or online badging system. There's many of them that are out there, to note that a student has completed the grade band K2 kindergarten lessons 1 through, or however many they've completed. But and then I would, if you do that, build that into your after school family night, would be very helpful, I would think. Okay, I'm actually not going to take you to the websites yet. I'm not going to take you to my website. I don't know, Kent may take you to his, but I want you to, and the reason is, so we are, HTTPS blah, 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 beyondschoolbells.org. When you go there, If you go up into the search button and just type forming, you will find it. The reason I'm not going to take you there now, because the place that I take you there today, August 26th or whenever this is not going to be the same place. We're undergoing a very large scale website reorganization, which, trust me, is going to make it easier for you to find our stuff. I promise. Kent, did you want to take them to your website, or how do you want to do that?
At the time of this recording, our Forming a More Perfect Union is not up, but if you're familiar with Civic Nebraska, we have a site called Civic University, and that's where this will be housed. It should be up even tomorrow. So by the time you are viewing this, it will be up there, Civic University, or just go to civicnebraska.org. Thanks.